by Our Black Hair Matters. And today we are discussing how to remain relevant in the fast changing hair care industry. And for those of you who don't know, the Concerned Beauty and Barber Professionals are hosting Industry Day on Monday, June 14th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is a week from today. So make sure if you haven't registered, you can actually go to, politicsbeautybarber.org to register. But today we want to talk about this a little bit because I feel very passionate about what Tamara Johnson-Shealy is doing with this particular organization. But today I have special guests. I have a panel of the authors, or most of the authors of the talks, who will be talking about a plethora of different topics. So what we're going to discuss today and hit on is the minimization of licensed professionals due to deregulation, the changing of expectations of customers and clients, and then why science is needed to elevate the industry, and much more. So before we jump into it, just in case you do not know who I am and are new to the platform, let me just take some time to let you know who I am. And I am Dr. Crystal Porter, and I am a hair scientist. And this is a live online broadcast platform dedicated to elevating the Black hair care industry and empowering consumers and hair professionals with education that is driven and backed by scientific research. And so, for those who have joined, thank you so much. Put your name in the chat because sometimes I cannot see you even if you add comments. So let me know who you are and where you're from. Also, let us know who you are. So if you are a hair practitioner, put in the number 1. If you are a consumer, put in number 2. And if you are a researcher or scientist, just like me, put in number 3. And also, please share this broadcast. Invite at least 5 people that you know who can benefit. Even though we're talking to hair professionals today about the industry and what can be done to elevate it, I want you as a consumer, because I do know I have consumers who are here. If you're a consumer, let us know what changes you want to see in the industry based on your personal experiences. Or if you are a licensed hair practitioner, let us know some of the concerns that you have, because that is really what the Concerned Beauty and Barber Professional, the group, is all about. All right, so before we dive in, just to make sure you are in the right place, if you are frustrated with the lack of information available to you when it comes to caring for your hair, or you wasted a lot of time, money, and resources just trying to figure it out on your own, you are definitely at the right place. And that is why we created the Our Black Hair Matters movement. And the last thing before we get started is we put together a very valuable resource. It is the 3 biggest mistakes to avoid when caring for your curly hair. And to get it, you can go to OBHM, Our Black Hair Matters, the acronym, consult. And then you will be able to get that free resource for you. All right, so let's jump into it and welcome our guests. Thank you so much for coming, guys. I know your time is valuable. I know you're preparing for the conference next week. So really appreciate you giving us like a snapshot about what it is that you're doing. So just to introduce everyone, I'm going to start from the top. We have Maureen Weiner here. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you will be giving a talk about North Dakota professionals winning at the state capitol. So I'm really curious to hear what motivated you to talk about this. And then we also have Dr. Brenda Halsey, and she is going to talk about from the historian, Our History is Our Legacy, which is awesome because I was on a live that Tamara actually did a few months ago, and she invited Dr. Tiffany Gill, and she's the one who wrote Beauty Shop Politics. And so that was really interesting. So I know you're going to have a wealth of information for that. And then we have Renee Hershkovitz. No, Renee isn't here. We have Gloria Spranger. Sorry about that. And she is going to talk about the new 2021 customer licensing and educating. So that is going to be fantastic. And then last but not least, we have Danielle Slade and Why You Suck at Business, which is an awesome title. I'm really curious about that. Okay, but before we jump into all of that, I want to say this really was, I asked Tamara Johnson Shealy if she would come on to promote it because I knew that it was coming up and I haven't mentioned anything about it. And she was like, oh, can we have the team on? And I was like, that would be great. So thank you guys for allowing this to happen. But I just want our viewers to really know what the Concerned Beauty and Barber Professionals group is about and what motivated you to want to become active. So let's start off with you, Maureen. If you can just share with us, what was the catalyst to really make you want to make a difference?
Well, I always like to be involved in the politics, and I love the hair industry, and it's ever changing and evolving. So we always have to keep on top of it. So I was drawn to that because other people are, doing something with it too. So I wanted to learn from them what they're doing, so what we could do here in even our home states.
Awesome. And so you are from North Dakota?
Yes.
Yeah. And so do you find that the climate there or just the way you do things there is a little different than other areas of the US, and you feel that the representation is really needed from your perspective?
So we do need people within our industry to step up and to be a part of the politics, what's going on at legislation. And even though we're different, there's a lot of similarities as to what we can do and help each other out with. So yeah, there's differences, but there's a lot of similarities.
Awesome. Yeah, I often think about the culture, right? So I'm here up north. I grew up here in the Chicagoland area. I went to school though for graduate school in Missouri. And even though it's not that far away, I mean, it's only like a 6-hour drive, but still the culture is really different. I'm like big city and it's like pretty slow and beautiful down there in Missouri, but I did feel the cultural differences. And I know sometimes the way you present things in a smaller environment is different than, how you need to tap into people if they're from a big city.
Right, correct. And the way we do things here differently, we have to find that niche and how it works well for us.
Right. Mm-hmm. So while I have you here, can you give us a little bit of, so without going into what you're going to talk about, but your perspective in terms of why it's necessary to talk about the strategies of how winning at the state capitol?
Yeah, I think we need to just be precise in how we present ourselves at legislation, and we just need to have a team effort. We need to rally in the troops from other people within our industry. And it's important to present what we are presenting in a proper manner without being, all crazy about it.
It's funny you say crazy about it. One thing that I can tell is when people are passionate, from whatever perspective they're coming from, right? So you have professionals who really feel the importance of what they do and they want to share it. And a lot of times it's just not based on a lot of data, it's based on emotion.
Right. And we need to stay focused, and we need to, even though we have that passion and we're very, out there and we have strong feelings about what we're doing and we want to fight for our industry, we have to stay grounded and we have to present in a very professional manner.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Thank you. All right. So we have Dr. Brenda.
Hello.
So you're the historian of the group, huh?
Yes, I'm passionate about history. But what drew me to the Concerned Beauty and Barber professionals and politics, beauty and barber, was about legislation. In my state of Ohio, we're constantly have bills that come forth in our legislation, House bills and Senate bills that affect the beauty industry. Our barbers and cosmetology boards are now merged together, and there was a lot of things that's happening legislatively that my state is was fighting. I'm the president of an association of my state, and when I found out about Tamara's group of the politics, beauty, and barbers, that drew me to that because it was nationwide. And just as Maureen was saying, you have to get people together and mobilize in order to make some changes. If you are opposing some bills that they're being proposed, which are going to affect your industry, which going to cause devaluing or deregulating, then you have to mobilize the cosmetologist, the barber, the industry all together to present an to oppose the bills or even propose a bill. But you have to have that togetherness. And so, as a president of my state, I was trying to mobilize my members and the members of Ohio, all the cosmetologists and barbers together, along with other beauty schools and barber associations, and to fight bills. Some of the bills that we've been fighting has been the fourth time now being entered. So we've opposed it each time, and it dies at the end of the year. It never gets voted on. So that's a good thing. You have to keep fighting. You got to keep up the fight. You got to fight the good fight. And being passionate about the history of our business, the cosmetology business, the beauty business, the barber business, is I'm just to the very beginning, of even in the 19th century, when cosmetology they were called beauticians then. They were hair culturists, and the history of the barbers that were first, even like African American barbers, their clientele was basically there was a white clientele. There's a lot of history in the barber business. They were sometimes preachers that turned to be a barber, but it enabled them to have wealth, to gravitate and bring the people to a social and economical freedom. Um, the history of this industry is so vast. There are books, just like Dr. Crystal was saying about, we had a guest on the show, and her name was Tiffany Gill, that wrote Politics, Beauty, and Politics Beauty Shop. That book has so much information. As a matter of fact, one of the organizations that I belong to, national organization called the National Beauty Cultures League, is in that book because they were a group of cosmetologists that got together and they mobilized, and they had to fight in legislation back then, as we are still doing now. So the history has been mobilizing in order to have the freedom our industry is worth fighting for. Our history is our legacy.
Yeah. Now, it's a couple more questions I have for you. One is, you are Dr. Brenda, so can you tell us what makes up the doctor?
Okay.
Yeah. How do you have
I'm glad to, because in the Institute of the National Beauty Cultures League that started in 1936, they started an institute of education. beauticians, as they were called then, or hair culturists, they wanted to um, have a sisterhood. They wanted a sorority. They wanted to be a part, because African American beauticians or hair culturists, they they didn't have a college education. Sometimes they were just barely had high school education. So the institute was started where you can go for get your master's, you can get your BA, your bachelor's of arts. The degrees are in the arts and science. The area of our industry is arts and science. In a degree, it's the arts and science. And so you have 8 years, you can work towards your doctorate. So during the time of the conventions, we would have our institute, which would last for a week, and we would go to these continuing education classes, which involved science, the arts, or the beauty of what we do, history, um, just a little bit of everything. There's bookkeeping, accounting, there's anatomy, there's hair cutting, there's just a lineup of classes. And so I acquired my doctor's through the National Beauty Cultures League Institute of Cosmetology. It is still going forth now today, where people from all over the country, we are several states joined together, and I'm from the state of Ohio.
Okay. And then the other question I want to ask, and I need to go back to Maureen and ask her this question, but where are you at? Like, not everyone is practicing. So, and then we all have different, specialties, areas of specialty. So I was just curious about what your area of specialty is.
My area of specialty, me or Maureen?
So you, and then I'll go back to Maureen.
Dave, sorry, at the drawer. I am in the specialty of hair replacement, and hair cutting is my specialty.
Okay.
I am now retired. I'm an advocate for legislation right now.
Okay.
So I fight the good fight. Awesome. And continue in it.
Okay. And Maureen, I apologize when you were here that I did not ask when you had the spotlight on you. What is your specialty?
I'm a licensed cosmetologist, so I do a lot of hair. I specialize in skin care. I worked with plastic surgeons and dermatologists for a lot of years, but now I'm back in the salon mainly, and I have 2 locations. One is working with the elderly, and then one is in a mall for kind of very busy. And then I'm also the president of our state board of cosmetology.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I think that's for people to know. Yeah. So we did have some people join in. Hey, Andrea, nice that you joined. Taria's here, Renee is here, so thank you so much. Taria is, thanking everyone for the information that's being shared, so that's awesome. All right, so in going in order, Gloria, you are going to be talking about the new 2021 customer licensing and educating. That's going to be interesting. I know a little bit about what's going on in licensing, not as much as you guys, but I do know that it's more of, a lot of states are trying to deregulate and trying to say you don't need, or telling professionals who do hair that they don't need to have a license to do it. And so, I'm really curious about what motivated you to join the Concerned Beauty and Barber Professionals, and what is like the motivation behind your topic?
Thank you. So my specialty is nails, skincare, and waxing. Okay, I don't do hair. When I went to school, my teachers, I started with nails first. My teachers did not do nails. They were cosmetologists who taught the class. There was no specialty nail teacher. I'm in Pennsylvania. Each state's laws are different. In Pennsylvania, we did not have a nail teacher's license. I am actually the first licensed nail teacher in the state of Pennsylvania, and possibly the only one, because we don't get a state board newsletter. Nobody looks at the state board website. Most people, when they get their license, at least the ones that I have found in my area, feel they know everything and don't believe in continuing education. They don't read their trade magazines. They don't take online classes or even hands-on classes. So because I got such a poor education and had to spend a lot of money afterwards, I became an educator. So I also educate for one of the nail manufacturers as well, and I do hands-on workshops. I volunteer at our vocational school, helping motivate other students and sharing my knowledge. In fact, in our state, because of COVID, a lot of people were concerned. So the new client is more concerned about sanitation and disinfection than ever before. So I've gotten a lot of new clients who want that elevated experience. And I've always educated my customers about proper sanitation and disinfection to let them know why my salon and where I work is different from some of the other salons, like the walk-in salons. Now, in our state, when I started my own, I had a nail and tanning salon when I first started. Aesthetics came later. The walk-in salons were starting, and everything that I was reading in my trade magazines and all the classes I was taking, they were telling me to set myself apart from everyone else. And thankfully, the owner of the school that I did go to really gave us an education in sanitation and disinfection. As I said, there were no laws up until probably 15 years ago on sanitizing pedicure chairs or implements, which is, yeah, I know, it's shocking, isn't it? Yeah. And even to this day, people are still using those barbicide little jars for their tools. And in our state, the law, you have to take the implements, scrub them, and then put them in a tray like a doctor would use, and immerse them for 10 minutes, rinse them, and dry them and store them. And most people don't even realize that. I've worked in other places where I had to institute the proper sanitation and disinfection methods. So that's what motivated me to join the Concerned Barber and Beauty Association, because of legislation that isn't, our inspectors are usually retired police officers who go in with a 10-item checklist. They don't even know what they're looking for. They don't know to look for MMA, which is the dental acrylic that is taken off the market, but a lot of salons still use. They don't know enough to, see those little jars and realize they're not sanitizing their implements properly. So for me, it's about educating my customers, elevating my services. I own more than 8 sets of implements. So I have a brand new set, I put them in what a doctor would use, the little sleeves. I have a new set for every single customer, so that if I get busy, I don't, and don't have the time to sanitize for 10 minutes between each and every customer, I can just use a new set of implements. So that's basically what I'll be speaking about, is just educating others so they can in turn educate their customer. And in turn, we can, make it to where people are going to check. We have salons that are doing waxing. Nail salons in our state are not allowed to do waxing. They're doing eyebrows, lips. I have a customer who got third-degree burns from a salon, and I will be sharing that in my talk next week.
Wow. Yeah, sounds like it's really important. And thank you for seeing what the problem was, actually deciding that you were going to be a part of the solution, because I think that if we just do things ourselves and say, oh, I'm just going to promote what I do so I can get more business, it doesn't help the industry overall. So kudos to you for being able to see that there was a problem and stepping up to educate and help others. That is awesome. Yeah, awesome. All right. So, Miss Danielle. Hello. So let us know, so where you're from and your motivation to be a part of not only the Concerned Beauty and Barber Professionals, but also what motivated you to have the title Why You Suck at Business.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, I'm representing Pennsylvania as well. So, you know, I'm in the 412 area code. But what made me really notice that there was, you know, something going on behind the scenes, I would say back in 2013, when I had my own experience. I was just graduating with my educator's license, and I wanted to apply for state board so that I could become what they called a proctor, to go in and help administer the practical exams for the upcoming graduates. And during that, well, let me backtrack a little bit. I actually fell in love with state law as I was in school, because the way it was taught to us, it was such an important part of our curriculum that I just started to really enjoy learning about, you know, the state law and just different things we had to do to pass state board. And I would find myself helping my fellow classmates. So it was just something that I said, you know what, I think I may want to really pursue this further. So go ahead to 2013, and I was 2 weeks away from actually being hired with state board to begin in the area that I reside in. And that's when I was then called and I told that, well, they're going to take away the practical exams in the state of Pennsylvania. So, you know, there's no more opportunities in that area. And I was really devastated, because I knew that at that time they had just made a new requirement that you had to obtain your educator's license. You couldn't just have a cosmetology license to hold that position. So that was one of the reasons I went to get my educator's license. And so it was very devastating. I really felt like the wool was the rug was just kind of snatched from up under me. And I started, and so that was kind of the first time that I really noticed that there was something bigger than what we were seeing in our cosmetology schools. And shortly after is when I met Tamara, and I was listening to her message, and I said, you know what, I have to be a part of this, because these are issues that we're just not aware of in our industry. House bills, Senate bills, just different things, deregulation. I had no idea about any of these things. It's just not talked about during that time. It wasn't taught in school. And, you know, most hairstylists, we're pretty much just focused on our day in, our day out activities. We do our hair, you know, we do our, you know, whatever services we offer. That's what we pretty much focus on. And here was this woman that, you know, was coming, you know, screaming loud and sparing not, I should say, about the changes that were greatly affecting us. So I just had to become a part of that movement. And I just feel like, you know, when you know better, you have to do better. And as Gloria has said, our state is heavily regulated, but there's a lot of people that kind of slide through those cracks. And there's a lot of people that don't really see the need or the necessity to have continuing education, to really understand how deregulation affects us greatly, not just, you know, as an industry, but just as individuals, you know, overall. So I really wanted to just be a part of this movement and just really be a voice for those that don't understand. Just really get out here, get the message out, just really understand and provide connections from state to state, because every state is different. The rules and regulations change from state to state. And also, I think the mindset of professionals change from state to state. So so my hope and my goal is to get us on one accord. And so that way we can really just kind of see how it will affect us, even now, and even our professionals that are coming behind us. A lot of times we just kind of focus on what's happening now. We don't really think about the future of our industry. So that's one of the main reasons I jumped on board. And the reason I chose my topic is because during COVID, my business was greatly affected, just like, you know, everyone else in our industry. And what I learned during that time was because I had been a solopreneur for quite some time, meaning that I had a small business. I owned my own salon, but I was the only employee for a few years. And during that time, I had to really just really learn and understand business and really see that I sucked. It's more than just doing great hair or being an awesome barber or whatever, you know, your talent, your skill lies. Is so much more than that. And I think that a lot of times we don't really understand how to really run a true business. And because I had adopted certain practices and I really implemented a lot of online systems, I was able to not only, sustain my business, but we survived the shutdown as well. And we just celebrated 6 years, which is awesome, this past April. Right? I'm so excited.
Awesome.
I'm so excited.
Congratulations.
And so I just wanted to take, so like I said, during that time, I was, I'm in a lot of groups on Facebook, talking to a lot of different professionals. And I started to see a pattern of professionals who just were really struggling, who just did not really understand just simple business practices that would really help to sustain their businesses and even, offer longevity to their businesses as well. So I'm just here to bridge the gap, and I wanted to take the things that I've learned, my failures, so that way that could help someone else.
Wow. I wasn't sure where that title came from. I'm glad you elaborated on that, because my way of thinking was, you've been observing some changes and people suck, but you actually turn it up on yourself and you felt like you sucked at business, and how you had to educate yourself and how you want to elevate others so that the industry can benefit from your experiences. That's awesome.
Absolutely. And the title is catchy. It's like, wait a minute, what you mean I suck at business?
Exactly.
So I wanted to grab attention because, there's so much information out here now. And there's, but I wanted to make sure that I had a title that was attention grabbing. And it was also very true. It was, it rang true in my life, because I had to acknowledge and admit that I sucked at business so that I could move forward and, and continue on.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for that. And so Taria has made a lot of comments. She is really being enlightened by what you guys are sharing, and she hasn't even heard the nuts and bolts of what you'll be sharing at the actual conference. So we actually have Tamara here. She was able to join. She was running a little late, so thank you. You are the one who put it all together. The event. And so, it sounds like it's going to be fantastic. I know we don't have Renee here, and she's going to talk about the truth behind deregulation in Minnesota, but I still wanted to let people know what is going to be discussed, because I feel very passionate about what you're doing. And it's so funny. So we did a replay last week, and it was the one of the one-on-one interview that we did when you were a guest last time. And it receives a lot of high marks. A lot of people have a lot of great things to say. And, they're really concerned, but the people who are speaking aren't necessarily a part of the Concerned Beauty and Barber professional group. So I want you to give us information about what motivated you to do this, how many years you've been doing it, and what is in your heart in terms of what you think people need to know and why they need to be aware of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. First of all, I just want to applaud those who are member advocates, and Miss Danielle and Miss Dr. Brenda and Gloria and Maureen. I don't do any of this by myself. Like, I just want people they see me, but this is not an organization that I am doing the work. The work is being done by those professionals who are actually paying attention to what's happening, staying abreast to what's happening in their respective states. This is not something I can do on my own. So I take no credit for any, the greatness of what I believe this organization is. It is great because those who are a part of it really do love this industry to the extent that, they're like, I'll keep an eye on my state. And when things happen here that I need to, we need to mobilize and organize, I will be the one to help push the initiative. So I don't do any of this. So I just want to say thank you to those who are here. We have many other member advocates around the country. I just want to say thank you because, I believe that, and I say this respectfully, but I believe, these are the best and the brightest in the industry, because we do a lot of things great. We get behind the chair and we make people look good, or we're behind the table and we make people beautiful. But without those who are, holding this industry together, keeping an eye on policy, we won't even have an industry. And we're fighting nationwide to hold on to a licensure that equates to our professionalism, a licensure that gives us validity. a licensure that, is the root of this industry. Our foundational training is in health and safety and sanitation and infection control. We're touching people daily, in this COVID season, all kinds of things are happening. So I just, again, I take no credit. I have to keep giving credit to those who are member advocates of this organization. Industry Day I'm excited about it. I'm excited. These professionals, they come to the table with so much insight and so much knowledge. And I always tell them that, I push you guys to the forefront because you are the leaders. You are the leaders in this industry, and you need to be, we have these YouTubers and these celebrity this and celebrity that in our industry, and the world sees them thinking they are our leaders. No, these are the leaders. These are the best and the brightest right here who are part of this organization and those who will be on this panel. So Dr. Krista, I thank you, for bringing, science, because between the political piece, and you and I have had this conversation, between politics and science, there's the industry right there.
Well, I want to thank you for even having the foresight to invite me to be the keynote speaker, because I really do feel strongly about, the title of Why Science Will Save the Licensed Professional. Mm-hmm. You and I have had numerous conversations, and it really is something to move forward into the 21st century. I think the industry for too long has been stuck in, 20th century ways, so I haven't seen a lot of advancements in terms of incorporating some of the knowledge that we have in science that will aid the professional. I don't think anyone really takes advantage of it. And there are a lot, as you said, there are a lot of YouTubers and people on social media who have all these buzz terms that resonate, and they have, the charisma, and they are able to connect to the viewer, and, ratings go up. But when people talk about science, they're just talking. They're not really walking the walk that needs to go along with the talk. And so it is my mission to make sure that I can help those who are passionate and conscientious, who want to be a part of the solution in this capacity. I want to give them the background and the information and the pathway towards doing just that, because I see that me as a scientist, I don't have the resources that you do as a professional to be able to reach out to the masses to collect the data. And so it's very important for me to be able to collaborate and partner with a lot of practitioners, but it takes a lot of education to get to the point of, me feeling confident that, they have been trained and have gotten the fundamental knowledge to be able to start helping with research. So thank you for giving me the platform to be able to do so.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. We're honored to have you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit more about, so after you give people the information that they need at this conference. Oh, and for those of you who don't know, I mentioned it earlier, but you may have come later. We are talking about the Beauty and Barber Industry Day that will be held next week. So next Monday on the 14th, and it runs from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so if you don't know, you go to politicsbeautybarber.org in order to sign up. But I want to know what your goal is in providing those who come with the information, trying to mobilize them to work towards elevating the industry, which is why, it's aligned with what I do. And, what can they expect will be different in their life after they attend Industry Day or in their profession?
Well, I'm hopeful that this will be an awakening for the industry. I'm hopeful that they will realize that, we have to organize with our efforts, and we have to be unified in our approach. So I'm hopeful that when this conference is over, professionals realize that we have to come together. Every industry, is, your doctors, your lawyers, your realtors, every legitimate profession, industry, they really are much more organized than we are. And one thing that we're taught in school, which is a detriment, it's good and it's bad, but I think it's a detriment that we're taught to compete. And this competitiveness that lives inside of us as beauty and barber professionals has really been to our detriment. I'm going to present, I always do an industry report, and I'm going to present what happened in 2020. I can give you guys, a little bit that I can tell you there was over 600 bills in 2020 that in some capacity had, the mentioning of our industry, whether it be cosmetology, aesthetics, nails, and barbers across the nation. There was 600 bills. What do we do with that? That's a lot of legislation being initiated that beauty and barber professionals have absolutely no clue about. I think one state, I want to say Mississippi, has so many, it was ridiculous. And we don't have anybody in our organization representing Mississippi. So when all of this is happening in Mississippi, we don't have the infrastructure to even engage in a conversation with other professionals or even engage with legislators. First, we have to engage with each other. What do we want our industry to look like? Because we're not making decisions for ourselves. Legislators and those who have a vested interest in the monies that come through our industry, they're making decisions for us. And we're giving away our power. We're giving away our whole industry by not being engaged and involved and organized. So going back to your question, what I'd like to see is I'd like to see us realize the impact we can have on policy if we really become organized as an industry.
Yeah. So we have Michelle Webb on here. She says, good afternoon, my fellow beauty industry professionals. Great conversation. I need a t-shirt to represent my organization. So awesome. Tracy Bond is here. She says, keynote, congrats, Crystal Porter. That is dream work. Kudos. Our hair care futures need to discover your data, knowledge, share for applied science or practice. Thank you. And then Michelle also says, I know the perfect person in Mississippi. So awesome. Have that. Awesome. Yeah, so you mentioned about competition. And I have to be very transparent because when I left industry, so people may not know my background, but I've had over 20 years in the industry. I got my start at Unilever, but majority of my time in industry was at L'Oreal for over 10 and a half years. And we were very spoiled with our little, niche team in Chicago. So we were a part of a little hub, the L'Oreal Institute for Ethnic Hair and Skin Research. And so we were so small, we couldn't compete with one another. We had to have each other's back. And as a result, we were able to do things that, a lot of people in the industry was not able to do. So even though we had our own individual goals, we made sure that if someone didn't complete their goal, even if it wasn't our project, we would stay late. We would help whomever needed to, have help, because in the end, everyone benefited, right? And so I kind of feel the same way. So I was a little disappointed when I first came out of industry because I was in this great environment where we shared and supported one another. And I'm very big picture. So I've been knowing what needed to be done for a while, but I did not know how to go about doing it. So I've been, like with blinders on, feeling my way in the dark, just trying to figure it out. But now I understand how important it is to really connect with people who have the vision and, very similar to me. And so I knew earlier on that it would be important to touch, other professionals who are in the industry. But when I went and, introduced myself and told them about how I wanted to collaborate, everyone looked at me with, a side glance and was like, what you doing? And I don't know you. And I would tell them, I was like, people are coming to me because they want help. And so I'm trying to figure out who I can send them to. So I'm trying to establish relationships, and I don't do hair. And so people want to look and feel beautiful. So that connection is really important. And at first, no one would be interested in anything that I had to say. And it wasn't until I started going to a lot of trichology conferences or events that I found people who became more educated. So in case you don't know what trichology is, it's an area of hair science where usually cosmetologists learn more in-depth information about diseases of the hair and scalp. And so if you have hair loss, if you go to someone who is very knowledgeable and who has a good foundation and who collaborates with dermatologists, then it's important for you to connect with them if you have these problems, if you can't see a physician in particular. So I say all that to say that that is my niche. My niche is those who became educated and realized, ooh, what they taught us in Milady, that ain't enough. I need to know a little bit more. And so I resonate with them because they see the importance of really wanting to do more in the industry, especially since their fingertips are in the heads where all the data is that I need as a scientist. So that is really why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm able to actually make some advancements in connecting and also making a difference so everybody benefits.
Yeah, you talk about how when you went in and you tried to have this conversation with our industry, we're artists, we just want to do our thing. We want to make people look good and feel good. So, a conversation that takes our thinking beyond that, it takes a minute for it to register with us. And I can tell you, when I walked in and I started talking about politics and bills and laws, they were looking at me the exact same way, Dr. Crystal. So it wasn't personal. It's just that that's not how our industry, that's not how we think. That's just not on the forefront of our brains. It's something that we tuck in the back and we'll deal with when we have to. We don't talk about politics and religion, and we don't really get into a whole lot of science. So, when you were talking, they didn't know. I know they treated me the same way. And I'm sure the member advocates can speak to that as well. Going out, trying to share our efforts. How do they respond to you, Danielle and Dr. Brenda and Gloria, Maureen?
In the same way, a lot of, as far as deregulation, a lot of professionals, that I have spoken to and seen, they don't really see an importance to it. They don't really understand how it will greatly affect them, so they're just like, well, oh, I don't care. I'm tired of renewing my license, or, but they, like I said, there's this lack of understanding and education in that area.
Exactly. Trying to explain it, you have to keep pushing and pushing and talking to them. Sometimes it feels like you have that expression, blue turning blue, but you keep doing it. You have to keep doing it, and eventually some of them hear you. You just have to each one reach one, teach one, so that when they get it, they can tell it and mobilize. That's when it really happens, when they mobilize. You don't want to be the person in the industry that wonder what happened when somebody was trying to tell you. They say that there's 3 different types of people: those that watch what happens, those that make things happen, and those that wonder what happened. We're in the making things happen. To them, if they would heed, they would be able to do better and pay attention and appreciate the devaluing of our profession. You don't want that. You got to go beyond. So we just got to keep doing it, keep talking, keep reaching.
Yeah, and it comes down to education also. And the more we can educate them in what's going on and to inform them about the bills or whatever's coming to legislation, the more that we can educate them and make them aware of that. Sometimes we get the response that they don't care, let the license go, no big deal. But then there's a lot of them that are like, wow, we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know this was happening. Tell us more. And so reaching out and really getting the education out there is very helpful.
Absolutely. And so you raised a good point, because I don't think a lot of people know. And I did a poll about, it has been about a year now. And just on social media, I wanted to know how many consumers really care about that issue. And I was a little surprised. I thought the majority of the people who were polled were going to be like, oh yeah, we really care about having a professional who's licensed. I really thought that that was going to be everybody basically. And I had about 80%, so of 20, I'll say 20% of the people who I polled were like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're licensed. And it's interesting because I really had to think about this because Tamara and I had a conversation about, you know, there are some people in the industry who want deregulation. They don't want licensing to be a requirement. And I understand from the standpoint of, okay, yes, you're, you know, mamas have been doing their daughter's hair forever. And so how could you, you know, have a licensing requirement just because people know how to style hair? I get that. But doing, you know, hair at home is totally different than doing it in a professional setting where you have, you know, people going in and out, you have that revolving door. I mean, there are things I feel that are important. So I'm in the 80% where I think it's extremely important. But what's interesting is as I started thinking about it, because as I said, Tamara and I had a conversation, I was like, from a business perspective, it's actually in my benefit because if I am trying to have standards for those in the industry who are doing something different and they have a viewpoint and different education that's very specific for the needs of people in the 21st century, that actually is something that's important to 80%. And so if I have something specialized, it's actually in my benefit that is deregulated in the sense because people will flock to people who have more education. So I don't feel that way though. I am for, you know, what's in the interest of the people as a whole. But it's unbelievable how, you know, I think some people in the profession realize or don't realize how some of the clients and potential customers are turned off and really don't think that it matters. So I think that's something that needs to be worked on as well. Is there any thought to that?
Oh, I agree.
I feel like we have to, oh, sorry.
Nope, I'm sorry, Ms. Gloria, go ahead.
I feel we have to educate our customers. I had an instance where a woman went to a hair braider who evidently didn't have a license and wasn't educated. And she was going on a trip and it was very expensive. And she said she ended up taking them out because they were so tight. It hurt her head, which can also cause permanent damage to your hair. You know, you can lose hair this way. So people who aren't educated don't learn those things. We just, you know, I feel that's why I'm so passionate about it. I educate every single one of my customers who sits down in my chair, whether it be on hair, nails, skin, whatever, waxing, whatever, you know, just letting them know what's being done so that this does not change.
So I just want to acknowledge a Facebook user, so your name isn't available, unfortunately. But they mentioned earlier that this is awesome goal to have a say in our industry, but she also says what's on the screen is scary and intimidates hairstylists about what they really know about their profession. And this profession is bigger than what stylists understand. So, yeah. And so the person also mentioned that you're probably talking about traction alopecia in terms of the damage from having the hairstyle so tight. So yeah. Wow. Anybody else?
I'm encouraged though. You know, I know we can talk about the bad, but there's some good in us. There's you know, I call our member advocates, I call us needles in a haystack. Because I know that we're there. We just have to keep reaching for us. But our goal as an organization, Dr. Crystal, it's just always been to have, before this year was 8 in every state, 2 cosmetologists, 2 estheticians, 2 nail techs, 2 barbers. But we've incorporated massage now into our organization. So it's 10 in every state. And that's truly a small ask, just 10 people that we can rely on, that we can give information, that we can stay abreast with, we can work with, just 10 people state to state, you know, in our industry that can help us organize, mobilize, and galvanize when needed. You know, this is how we win. And this political, the politics, you know, this is about the monies. The root of it is the money that this industry is making. That's why deregulation is being initiated. That's why deregulation is being pushed, because they realize the money is concentrated amongst those of us who are licensed. That's concentrated wealth. Wealth, everybody. That's our money. That's our wealth. That's our value. And they want that. So by snatching that license away from us, they now can get a piece of the pie, without the formal training, without the education. It's all about money, everybody.
And I can't even fathom that. Who would want to be served by someone who doesn't have training? I mean, I don't understand that. It's too much that can go wrong.
We also need to educate our clients, because they can then send letters to their senator, all their representatives, letting them know that they do not feel this is appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
They can also be advocates for us as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why it's imperative to have, like I said, 10 member advocates in every state, so we can get the clients. We can get the clients to get their families and their friends. They trust us. We are a trusted resource. We are the pillars of our community. Hairstylists are therapists, nail techs. We're therapists, skin professionals. We're therapists. These people tell us we know stuff we shouldn't know. we take it to our graves, because most of the time you can't remember all that stuff anyway. So you take it to your grave.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I want to thank all of you. I want to say what Taria said. She said these conversations are always so enlightening. Thinking about how innovation plays into regulation and licensing. But yeah, it is very important. And so I really want to thank all of you for joining me. And I'll let you say it, Tamara, since you're on here. Where can people register for the upcoming Industry Day?
How about I pass the ball to somebody else? Miss Dr. Brenda. Oh, you're muted.
Okay. The concernbeautyandbarber.org.
Awesome.
To register on the next Monday, Industry Day.
Danielle, you want to chime in behind her and bring it on home?
Oh, absolutely. I just want to thank you, Dr. Crystal, for just giving us this opportunity to talk and share, and also just be amongst other professionals. This was just an awesome opportunity. And just want to thank everyone who's been joining us, who's commented and just showed some support. Please join us next Monday for Industry Day. It's our first virtual event. We're super excited. It's our 8th annual, but our first virtual event. So please join us. We have a lot of great things in store, a full panel of guest speakers and some other great things. So please join us.
And Maureen and Gloria, shout out your states. Shout them out.
North Dakota.
North Dakota in the house. Gloria, where are you?
Pennsylvania, northeastern Pennsylvania.
Yay. And I'm right here in Georgia. Dr. Brenda, where are you?
Ohio.
Ohio in the house. Dr. Crystal, where are you?
I am in Illinois, in the greater Chicagoland area. Yeah. All right, ladies, thank you so much. Really, really interesting conversation and way more to be shared 1 week from today at the Industry Day. And so for those of you who have joined us, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. As you know, our Black hair matters. And as always, take care and love your hair. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.